Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our college football predictions with week 3. And last week was a pretty rough one for me. Of the games we predicted, I went 6 and 9. Not nice. Which brings my total season record to 10 and 13. Now, there was a lot of games. There were a few upsets, but there were a few toss-ups in last week's game where predicting was a little harder than you think. But anyway, new week, and not a lot of great games this week to choose from. But anyway, the we have Arizona traveling to Kansas State to take on the Wildcats. And if this game was on a Saturday, this would have been my game of the week. But they're playing on a Friday night. Arizona, they've been not off to a good start for the school. I guess they're 2-0, but they've been winning closer than what people have been thinking. As for Kansas State, they did pick up a big win over Tulane. And yes, Tulane is one of the better group of 5 schools that we don't predict on this channel. But that deserves some recognition. And they're giving Kansas State 7.5 points. Wow. Who saw that coming? Now, I am very unsure if this is counts as a conference game or not, or if this was already scheduled beforehand. But whatever the case may be, this might be. I'm already going off an odd upset. I'm going to roll with Arizona to win on the road over Kansas State. And yes, I am going against that 7.5 spread. Next we have is Boston College taking on the Missouri Tigers. And these two schools, they basically play no-name schools, while Boston College make their first appearance in the top 25 polls in like what seems like forever. Sadly, it might be their last appearance of the season because they're giving Missouri 17 points to win at home. Do I think that will be a case for this game? You know what? I am going to go ahead and pick Missouri to win, but I do think they don't cover. I think Boston College will make this game very very close. And if I'm correct, I think Boston College might have beat them last year or whenever they last played. Just keep that in mind. Following that, we have the Alabama Crimson Tide traveling to Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. First time Alabama's been up north for a regular season college game in some time. Well, Alabama, do not let that 42-16 score fool you. That game was 14 to 13 at the start of the fourth against UCF. But they just rolled tide in the fourth quarter. But for Wisconsin, they have not been impressing me at all this season. Yes, they're 2-0, but they've been keeping their no-name schools very, very close. In fact, they've been keeping those games concerningly close. Now, Alabama's giving them 16 points, and this was another game that I thought about being game of the week, but I think Wisconsin's going to keep this game very, very close for at least a half. I know the fans are hoping that this game will be a very, very close game right when jump around hits. But for now, I am going to roll with Alabama to win. And I'm unsure about that 16-point spread as of today. Following that, we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the Purdue Boilermakers. And everyone, let's all laugh at Notre Dame because they had the easiest path to the postseason, only for them to lay an egg at home as a top 5 school against Northern Illinois, which is for that school their first ever top 10 victory. And not only that, Northern Illinois got paid a handsome $1.5 million to go into Notre Dame and get a W. So congratulations to them. And once again, proving us everyone that Notre Dame is always going to be one of the Dallas Cowboys of college football. They always think they're contenders, but at the end of the day, they find ways to crap the bed. Meanwhile, Purdue, there's not much known for Purdue. But one thing I've noticed about Notre Dame these first 2 games is that their offense has been struggling bad. So I do think this game is going to be a little low scoring. And while I am tempted to take Purdue in this game. I do think Notre Dame will bounce back and get the win, but I will not be surprised if Notre Dame falls to 1-2. Next, we have the backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pitt. Pitt coming from behind, getting a win over Cincinnati on the road. It's very impressive. Meanwhile, West Virginia, they did rebound after a very tough week 1 game against Penn State that I failed to predict. My apologies. And right now they're giving West Virginia 2.5 points to go on the road and beating Pitt. But this one, and yeah, I do think this is going to be very, very close. But I am going to roll with West Virginia to go on the road to get the win, because trusting Pitt is like trusting, well, yeah, there are a lot of things I'd rather trust than Pitt. And now that I'm going against Pitt, watch they pull off the win. Then we have Texas A&M going to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators. And both of these schools got big rebounding wins after a very rough week 1. For A&M, they had a rough game against Notre Dame. And for Florida, they got thrashed by Miami week 1. Both of them played no-name schools, although Florida played DJ Lagway in that game instead of Graham Mertz. Granted, Mertz is hurt. And if you're a Florida fan, you probably want DJ Lagway to be the permanent starter going forward. And if I was them, I'll go with the hot hand too. But for A&M, they are giving them 4 points. This game is kind of tricky to pick, because part of me do want to take Florida if they're sticking with Lagway, because A&M I have not been impressed with at all. But if they play Graham Mertz, I will lean towards A&M. But you know what? This game's at home. I'm going to give Florida a shot at a big upset win over Texas A&M. Following that, we have the Ole Miss Rebels taking on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And Wake Forest, they played Virginia last week, and they wound up collapsing in that. They wound up losing that game 31-30 in the last second. It was one of those last second losses. And Ole Miss, this will be their first non-old school game that I don't know, how can I say this? This will be their first Power 5 game they played this season. Because their first 2 games was against no-name schools. And yeah, Ole Miss, I think they're one of the more underrated teams in college football. I am feeling Jackson Dart right now. Ole Miss should win, but however, I don't think they're going to cover that 23-point spread. I don't think they're going to cover that at all. I think Wake Forest will try keep it close, but Ole Miss is going to be too much for them. Then we have the Georgia Bulldogs taking on the Kentucky Wildcats, and Kentucky burned me last week at home, laying an egg against South Carolina. I mean, seriously, what has happened? What happened, Kentucky? Meanwhile, Georgia, 2 weeks in, no touchdowns allowed. This one should be easy. I got Georgia winning, and it's not going to be close. Then we have a very interesting Big Ten matchup between Indiana and UCLA. Although last time we seen UCLA, they struggled in their opening day game. But for Indiana, last time we saw them, they put up 77 points. Granted, it was against a no-name school, but 77 points is 77 points. And they're actually giving Indiana 3 points. I did not see that coming. And you know what? I'm actually going to roll with Indiana on the road. Because if I know one thing, UCLA is in a bit of a rebuild. In Indiana, yeah, hopefully they feed off into that momentum from last week. Then we have old ACC rivals between the Maryland Terrapins taking on the Virginia Cavaliers. Maryland getting a loss over Michigan State at home, while Virginia went on the road to get the win over Wake Forest. Now in this game, Virginia's giving them 2.5 points. And Maryland, yeah, they did not. I don't know what to think of that school. I really don't. They're basically a definition of a middle of a pack team. This game is being played in Virginia, so I am going to go ahead and lean towards the home team to win this game. But I will not be surprised if Maryland pulls it off. And then we have an evenly matched up between UCF, the Knights, taking on the TCU Horned Frogs. And the spread is basically even. In both these schools, I think they played no-name schools for two. And this is another game where I'm unsure if this is a proper Big 12 matchup. I don't know. Wait, I don't know if this is a properly Big 12 game. I do think it is a conference game, but hey, I'm just here to make a prediction. So with that being said, even matchup. This is another case. I'll just lean towards the home team in this one. I'm gonna roll with TCU to win. UCF, don't be surprised if they win. And last but not least, we have our game of the week, and it's kind of an underwhelming pick for me. Seriously, this week might not be the best of college football this season, but we'll get there. It'll get there as the LSU Tigers take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. LSU got a win over No Name School, but they did have a rough week 1 game as they basically blew it against USC. As for South Carolina, a huge road win against Kentucky in the first ever conference game of the season. That is very impressive for me. I do think this game is going to be very, very close. I Even though I feel like South Carolina is like the SEC school teams often forget with them and Vanderbilt. But anyway, this game, I know LSU's favored by 7 points, and on paper they are the better team. But South Carolina, I think that crowd's going to be rocking. I'm actually going to go with the home team in this one. I'm rolling with the Gamecocks to win, and I hope this pick don't spur me in the end. And with that being said, that concludes Week 3 college football predictions. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.